and then the second and the third and so on.
But it's not always that a Khalif is elected, is it?
Yes, if it has become a sort of sovereignty, and if a political head of a Muslim state is also called a Caliph, then he is not always elected. Most often than not, his progeny inherits that office. So that is a Caliph in only similar sounds. The same word is misapplied, in fact.
Yeah, okay, I see. You might know that in this part of the world there's, in general, many people fear Islam.
Yes.
They see it as a threat to our way of life, our culture. What is your comment?
The fact is that many things in the Western world, particularly nowadays, are not being seen in the right perspective because of political involvements and the worldwide propaganda against Islam, for which, unfortunately, the initial cause of offense was given by some Muslim sovereigns like Khomeini from Iran and like Gaddafi of Libya. I don't say that they offended the world, the West, politically, but because they tried to implicate Islam in their political moves, so Islam was in fact misrepresented because of their behavior.
What does the Ahmadi Muslims stand for? If it's not, well, you know, we get the most of our informations about Islam from, for instance, Iran. So what does you stand for?
You see, I, as head of the Ahmadi community, can assure you positively that according to our study of Islam, Islam does not in any way advocate taking of law into one's own hands. Islam does not advocate use of force in religion or religious ideas. Islam does not advocate terrorism and all such nonsense. Islam is a very widely misunderstood religion today. While Islam is magnanimous in its approach to other religions, it's a religion of peace. The very name Islam is peace. So all that Islam teaches is a good, is a better and improved relationship between man and man, regardless of his religion, color or creed.
So who's to blame for the misunderstandings?
I think partly the blame is on some Muslim leaders and partly on the Western propaganda media and some political involvements of the recent times. For instance, Iran is now being looked at as the enemy of the West. So whatever is done by the Iranian leadership would be utilized to the maximum for creating a negative image of Iran, and along with that, unfortunately, of Islam.
So you say you're against, your religion is against violence, and I have read in the book Cry of Pain that you're against violence and censorship. So what about the Rushdie case? What is your opinion on that?
We, as Islam teaches us, stand for total freedom of speech and expression, both by word of mouth and in writing. Freedom of speech and freedom of pen is what we stand for and what Islam preaches. But also, sometimes this freedom is misused. And in the name of freedom of speech, sometimes you indulge in abuses, in creating wrong images of the people and maligning holy personages and so on and so forth. So that must be condemned, not only by Islam, but by every decent person in the world. In the case of Salman Rushdie, what we object to is not at all a disagreement with Islamic viewpoint or Islamic fundamental beliefs. But what he has unfortunately done is that he has indulged in very filthy, abusive and maligning language against the holy personages of the holy founder of Islam and his companions. Also, in the name of fiction, he has built some very filthy stories which have no relationship to the realities of the time. And people, innocent people like most Westerners are. As far as Islam goes, they are, as you rightly put, naive in a manner of speaking. They absorb, they digest everything as, even in the name of fiction, as reality. So that is what is hurting the Muslim world.
Don't you think you underestimate the Western people when you say that? Because I don't think all of them see it as fact.
No, but the ultimate impression which is precipitated after reading the book, for a person who does not know the facts of history, is very damaging and very negative as far as the image of Islam is concerned. So that is what I know from my personal experience. I have met those people who have read this book and they were left with a similar impression.
Have you read the book yourself?
I have read it in those passages which were presented to me for special attention, because I didn't have time to go through the whole book and also didn't have the patience because it's so much hurting.
Yeah, but condemn him, yes, but sentence him to death.
No, yes, that's right. Condemn not only Muslims. I believe that every decent man on earth should condemn this attempt to malign others, to use filthy, abusive, obnoxious language against such people who are held in high esteem by 1 billion people in the world. So in the name of decency, this must be condemned and roundly condemned. But there is no punishment in Islam for any such offenses.
And I understand you also condemn the language used in Iran, for instance, kill the Americans.
Of course, of course. We stand for justice and fair play.
Yeah.
This is what Islam has taught us. So even if a friend makes a mistake, we must censure him as well.
How come all the Muslims haven't discovered that yet?
Some of them have, but their voice is not carried on to you. Like I'm traveling and making contacts widely in the world, most of the Muslim leaders are not doing it. They should have done it. I know the majority of Muslims do not agree with Khomeini's edict against Salman Rushdie that he has forfeited his right to live. And but they have no voice.
I see. Could you tell me what is it you fear the most in this world?
What I fear?
Yeah, the most.
What I fear is intolerance. That is the greatest calamity that could have befallen man and has befallen man in many ways, sometimes overtly and sometimes covertly. For instance, non-tolerance of the other's views is also witnessed in the media of propaganda. They choose and pick only those things which they want to propagate. And in fact, they disarm the other side by not giving the other side proper space and enough time in their media to speak their language. So intolerance has many guises, many ways of expression. So man today is very intolerant, I think, unfortunately.
And what are we going to do about it?
I think the free dialogue is a very important thing which we must preach. Now, for instance, in Salman Rushdie case, free dialogue has been so much highlighted and emphasized, but not in other areas. These things are highlighted where the Western people take a political advantage of such situations. Otherwise, they are totally ignored. For instance, the Prime Minister of England took very strong exception to the edict issued against Salman Rushdie by Imam Khomeini of Iran. He said, what right did he have to interfere in our internal affairs and declare a citizen of Britain or somebody living in Britain to have forfeited his life? While I was in Britain and price on my head was fixed openly and publicly and repeatedly by the non-tolerant Muslim clergy. It was said that whoever murders the head of the Ahmadiyya community will get so much sterling and plus a wonderful reception in the heaven later on by the very founder of Islam. Nobody took exception to this.
No.
When some people are murdered in Pakistan just for the crime of following a religion, a faith. When their houses are looted, when they are burned down, when mosques are desecrated, no noise is made. While if one single person is persecuted in Russia, hue and cry will be raised which can deafen the ears of the whole world. So that is what I say is unfair. We must return to normalcy and fair play and justice. Justice demands that even if your friend commits a mistake, he should be condemned. Even if an enemy acts righteously, then he should be lauded.
Yeah, I see. So we need justice and we need a free dialogue. Would you be prepared to speak to Rushdie, to take a meeting with him? Or
in fact,
that
is not necessary,
no.
Because the man has committed a mistake, which is not a mistake of misunderstanding. He has willfully sold his talent of writing to some enemies of Islam. Because all the material which he has collected, I know personally that he is not the type of going through that. It's not his style. He was not interested in religion right from his childhood. He is a sort of atheist. Why should he have undertaken all this trouble of going into the past controversy between Christianity and Islam and finding out the material which would hurt the Muslims most? Because I believe he is paid, he is a mercenary. So there is no question of any dialogue between a normal person and a mercenary.
I understand that you are able to see what we can expect from the future.
Yes.
What can we expect?
I think the future is built on the foundations of the past, plus on what to do in the present time. So I feel I'm really very much concerned about the future of mankind, because today the political leadership has got totally divorced from absolute sense of morality. There is no morality left in our politics today. And I believe that without morality, no system can be run satisfactorily and honestly for the ultimate good of mankind. So the inherent danger for the future lies in our present irresponsible behavior. Moreover, the modern tendencies among the youth is that of rebellion against their past. They have not yet discovered their identity, they have not yet discovered their future orientation. They are just hobnobbing with anything which attracts them. They are in this process of escape from the past, yet they have not discovered their future. So this hobnobbing with drug, with Hare Krishna and all these cults and so on, this is a sign of total dissatisfaction. Moreover, individualism is far more emphasized today in the world than ever before. And in the name of individualism, it is not just the liberty which you obtain, but it is the liberty to do crime, more so than anything else. Liberty to behave in any irresponsible manner. So this, unfortunately, is a bad omen for our future.
Where do the hopes lie?
The hopes lie, in fact, first of all, in a very serious realization of what's happening today. The world leadership must get together, must take these things on and confront them and make a united policy for the betterment of future of humanity and for the safety and survival of human race. It is highly essential that all the advanced countries in particular should revise their policy of their relationship with youth and of their attitude to the so-called liberty. In America, for instance, in the name of liberty, those people who are law-abiding and innocent, they are deprived of their right to live peacefully. And criminals are protected more and more. The result is that mafias came to be sprung up in America, which have become so powerful that because legal rights are defended in a manner that they are beyond the reach of law. The result is that, as you know, a whole war is now being declared, rather too late in America, against a type of mafia. But everywhere the responsibility is on the rampant and things are going from bad to worse. The situation is very serious. First of all, we must appraise the situation correctly and show a will to resolve these problems together jointly.
I see. Thank you so much. Could I ask you to be a bit so I could ask you the first question once more, because I think there was a lot of noise out there. The question about what is a Khalif, you know. So are you ready? Okay. When I hear the word Khalif, I get a lot of very childish imaginations, because when I was a child, my father read fairy tales about Khalifs. So could you tell me, what is a Khalif?
You see, Khalif is a word which can be applied in two different connotations. Number one, strictly in Islamic terminology, a Khalif is one who deputizes a person who was appointed by God. After his demise, a deputy is elected, and he is elected for the purpose of performing the same tasks as his previous master did. This is Khalifa, not Khalif, but Khalifa in Islamic terminology. Later on, this term was applied loosely to all the Muslim sovereigns, while they were not religious heads. They were just heads of states. So their behavior or misbehavior was unfortunately relegated to the image of Caliph, and the image of Caliph, the word Caliph got damaged because of their misbehavior in some places.
Thank you so much.